The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Hump Day.
And let me tell you something before we get into the stuff we've got printed out. Last night's Economic Development and Tourism Council meeting was an absolute fiasco. The fireworks were flying everywhere.
Yeah.
And Kathy Ann turns around and she starts screaming that, you know, while she's doing the economic development work, I'm not being paid extra money for doing the economic development work. We're just using the the Community Development Block Grant money as a funding source. You can't use it as a funding source. And she admitted her contract says, and other duties as assigned by the mayor.
It's a pay raise. It's a veiled pay raise. And you can't use federal money to supplement her salary.
That's right, and that's what they're doing.
That's what they're doing. And they're not doing it only for her.
Right, I know. They're doing it for Monica as well.
So it's like, guess what? The law doesn't matter to the city council or, well, they actually questioned it, but the law doesn't matter in Fall River unless it's going to do you some good. And they ignore the law, and that'll be our next thing that we're going to get into, because we're talking about we're going to talk about the complaint.
Yeah, well, I want to finish on this economic development and tourism.
Well,
he still wants a tourism director. He still wants a tourism director.
Yeah. Come tour one of the worst cities in the actually Massachusetts. I was watching the national news. Massachusetts ranked like 44th in the country. We were down at the bottom. Rhode Island was way, way ahead of us.
Right.
In you know, about taxes and stress levels and stuff like that, living in some of the crap holes that we have in this city. You know, Massachusetts, and we're the worst in Massachusetts, so what does that make us? Oh, God, we're the poster child. So why we got to be 44th? But we want a tourism director. Yeah, what are we going to
Well, he's still touting that private partnership with a nonprofit tourism council that will raise money to put on a citywide event like Fall River Celebrates America. He keeps running to it because everyone loved Fall River Celebrates America.
Yeah, even though it was a dismal failure in bringing any economic development to Fall River. So.
Exactly, and actually it was a dismal failure for the then Chamber of Commerce, because they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it, and they barely raised $25,000. And as they used to say, they could hold a golf tournament and raise more than $25,000 and not spend as much money.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, look, I was part of the first Fall River Celebrates America. As a matter of fact, Stewie Kuzitz and I had the less than enviable job of standing over a fire pit cooking charisse and stuff and selling charisse sandwiches for the, you know, because at the time the Chamber of Commerce, you know, I knew Mark Montigny fairly well. He was a friend, and of course, there were people in the chamber who worked with other people with labor and stuff. They coordinated. So we volunteered to go down there and you know, and work it. And I worked a couple of them. And look, I'm not saying they weren't good events. People had some fun there. It wasn't a bad event. But it's kind of like the feast. It doesn't do any good to nobody that comes here. It's like having a casino. You know, casinos have shopping malls and restaurants and stuff, so you don't leave the casino. It doesn't foster any economic bump. You don't get any development from there. You stick them all down on a waterfront. The only people that sell anything are the vendors who are normally connected because they got the licenses to bring their trucks down there. And everybody, it's a self-contained thing. Doesn't do any good. What do you think? People are going to leave? Number one, you can't get near the place. You got to take shuttles and buses and stuff to get there. Now you're in this secluded area that's in the middle of nowhere. What are people going to do that are from out of town? Are they going to walk down Are they going to walk down Columbia Street and walk? No, they don't even know their way around the city. They can't get around the city. It's absurd. These things, you know, this is the panacea for everything. Run some kind of boat race or run some kind of, it's like a NASCAR race. Well, what do? They bring their campus, they park in a parking lot, and they tailgate. Yeah, so what does it do for economic development? Nothing.
Well, now that you're talking about economic development, guess where our economic development money is going to go?
Nowhere.
$200,000 is going to go to make sidewalks.
Yeah. Well, that's not economic development. I hate to tell you.
And the balance of the money is going to be
It's going to be rolled over.
It's all going to be rolled over to next year, so they can break it up into $200,000 for new sidewalks and $174,000 to go to economic development to give them a $400,000 bump, which is then supposedly going to go to RDA.
Okay, so let's cut through all the manure that just got slung around at the city council meeting to try to justify. But let's look at the bottom line. It means they did absolutely nothing this year with that money. Absolutely nothing until somebody caught them, and now they're going to roll it over and make sidewalks and stuff. That's not economic development.
But interestingly enough, they said that they've been doing the work without the money. They said that they're working with merging two companies so that they can bring jobs here to Fall River, two textile companies, and you know they went through several issues, about 19 or 20 projects.
Yeah. And the checks in the mail, you know, and a few other little vignettes that go with that saying. You know we've been listening to this stuff for 40 years. We did this, and we're working with this to bring what, 42 jobs.
But here's the kicker. Because this was revealed last night. For every $35,000 spent, they have to create at least one job. And they admitted that Amazon and South Coast Marketplace did not generate the jobs needed for those monies.
Oh, Lord, what a surprise. like we didn't predict that on the show, right? Before they even opened the places.
That's right.
Like, you know, what a surprise. And these are the people that you're going to put in charge of economic development. The people that said Amazon was going to fix everything, a market basket and the new mall was going to fix everything, and we still have the highest unemployment rate in the state. We're tied with Harwich. So,
and nobody works in Harwich anyways.
Nobody has a job in Harwich anyway. So, you know, it's a little tiny Cape town where Tip O'Neill used to be from. It's fairly affluent. I don't know how they got a high unemployment rate unless, I guess they got a lot of opioid problems down the Cape. So I guess those are the people that are unemployed. But the fact is that
might be unemployed high school students.
Yeah, we've got an 8% unemployment rate,
8.2.
8.2, and the rest of the state's down at 4. And again, these are the people, and the people that are not outraged. They should be storming the council meetings like they stormed the Bastille and screaming at these people. When are you going to stop? Look, the hell with it. Don't even, look, why are you even bothering bringing them up there to listen to their lies? Kathy Ann, I think at one point in that meeting, Councilor LeBeau accused Kathy Ann of doing something, of saying something, and he said, no, I didn't. And she said, well, that's what you said you did in front of the council. So, again, well, we already know what the judge said about Kathy Ann. Like, you can trust her as far as you can throw the building. So the reality is she misrepresents fact, as the judge said. But we're going to pay these people more money. We're going to keep these people employed, even though, what have they done? In the last, how long's Kathy been there? 5 years already?
Yeah.
Started with Flanagan, went through
Sutter.
Went through the first term. She's been there more than 5 years, actually, probably. And the entire first term. God, she's been there. So,
well, yeah, because you got to think about it. She's got
her retirement locked up now, baby.
Yeah,
she's going to get that full-time retirement when she worked most of the time part-time as a counselor.
She got 2 years with the Flanagan and Sutter administration. Mm-hmm. Then she got 2 years in the Jazel Carrere administration.
And she's working on her 5th.
This is her 5th year.
Well, that's it. Her retirement's locked up now, full-time. She just gamed the system.
That's
just like Mary Sahadi's preparing to do.
That's right.
You know, because she was on the...
but she was part-time. Remember that.
Yeah.
That clock starts all over again,
But I mean,
baby.
you know, this is the whole absurdity of what we see in this city all the time. We see people who are not performing. If you were a trash picker and you didn't pick up the trash, you'd get fired. Because people would say, hey, you're not picking up my trash. You're fired. Your boss would go, what did you do? Oh, I went down to the bar and drank all afternoon. I didn't pick up the trash. See you later, you're done. But what we do is, all we get is more promises and more theories. We're going to get tourism. Tourism to the city that's in a top 50 in drug addiction, poverty. What have we got to show off to the people? Do we have we're going to compete, and I've always said this. This is the absolute how ludicrous this concept is. Let's look at this. Fall River, in case you know your geography, we're pretty close to Newport and Cape Cod. The two biggest tourist attractions in southeastern New England. So let's visualize this. Let's have a scenario here. I'm coming in from Minnesota, which, by the way, was the state that ranked highest. And I know you used to live there. No stress, no anxiety. Everybody just, like, watches hockey games.
Yeah, I didn't fit in there.
and watches hockey games and ice fish. But it's nice laid back. But here I am. I'm coming down from Minnesota, and I'm driving down, whatever, I-95. I hit I-95, and I go, okay, let me see. What do we got? Let's open our little app and see what we got. Newport, Rhode Island, home of the Tennis Hall of Fame. 12-mile drive. Great Gatsby. All this stuff filmed there. Mansions. Eateries. Brick Marketplace.
Home of the old America's Cup.
Home of the old America's Cup, and they do still have boat races there. They're having another one, I think, major boat race. So, okay, well, that's a number one. What else? Oh, we can make a left, and we can go to Cape Cod. Look at Cape Cod. Cape Cod's Cape Cod. Wait a minute. Fall River. What do we got there? Drugs, crime, Lizzie Borden. Ooh, the main tourist attraction is somebody who bludgeoned their mother and father to death with an axe. Wow. Okay, let's go there. Restaurants, none, virtually. Theaters, none. Anything to do besides watching three-headed cows walk up and down Main Street or something like that. Yeah, okay, good luck with that. You want to get this city back, get this city to where it was before, where people had jobs. Focus that money on training people to get a job so they'll have money to spend, and we can have businesses, and then we can talk about some stuff like that. And as I said before, they already stole the idea. We talked years ago about how do you bring people into a city that's got nothing to offer. You do something that nobody else does. I went down to North Carolina to a softball tournament for traveling softball teams. There were literally thousands of people in this community. This community had virtually nothing except a couple of hotels and some restaurants. Hotels were absolutely filled to the max. Restaurants were filled every night with people that were down there for a week-long tournament. They had a mega softball complex. They had tournaments throughout the summer and in the fall. College scouts came down to scout high school players. Tremendous anchor, as they call it, for the malls. Could Fall River do that? Absolutely. Would they do it? No, because it makes sense. Fall River has probably the best soccer history in the world. Not too many people remember that we had the best soccer team in the United States and actually one of the best soccer teams in the world. The Ponte Delgada soccer team, look it up, Google it. The Ponte Delgada soccer team was #1 in the United States. They played against, they were amateur players, they played against professionals in a world championship tournament, and they finished in the top 3. Soccer's a big sport in the United States. Not professional soccer, but there's a million youth soccer leagues. You think they could build something down here and capitalize on that? That would make too much sense. And two of the best soccer players from that Ponte Delgado own the gas station at the fork of Shove in South Main for many years. Shorty Monis and Bouncer Arruda, both nicknames from their soccer days. They were players on that team. Billy Gonzalez, a Fall River native, was one of the played professional soccer back in the 40s in Europe. That's how good he was. But do we ever capitalize on anything like that? No. We're going to do yuppie stuff. Let's put up signs, and what are we going to invite them to? The Pink Bean? I mean, you know, the whole concept. I mean, all this is a scam for them to stay employed and keep taxing us. That's all it is.
Well, the scams seem to work. So, and that's because you, the voter, don't get rid of these people. So it's your fault. Well, on the 26th of March, the Superior Court, Bristol County Superior Court, in civil action number 2016-865, issued a decision affirming the decision by the Attorney General that the City Council violated the open meeting law when from the February complaint that I personally filed, and when the City Council sat in their seats during a subcommittee meeting, which presented a quorum of the City Council, and were participating in it. They violated the open meeting law. They violated it by sitting in their seats, and they violated it by having more than 4 people sitting in on a council meeting. Therefore, ordinance and legislation which has 5 people in it has to be reduced to 4. Got to get down to 4. 4, that's it. And their Finance Committee meeting has to be announced as a joint meeting of the Finance Committee and the full City Council, or they can move it into the City Council meeting. That's what this order says. And you can read it. It's civil action number 2016-865. Now, Patrick Higgins, hello, Patrick, who read this decision with me, he agreed with my interpretation of it as well. And he thinks that Joe Macy's going to try to file an appeal to the appeals court now, because they're on the hook for a $1,000 fine.
So he'll waste his time, but again,
no, he's wasting our money.
Yeah, but they do that every day.
Right.
Every time he formulates, but you know, the thing that disturbs me about this is you warned him.
That's right. I always warn him.
I want to tell that to the people, because I know everyone's going to say, "Oh, there goes CJ again, making trouble, and his name's even in here." In the discussion section. But you know something? It is a sad commentary when a government body disobeys the law. You know, they are a governmental body. It's their job to make laws, and their philosophy is that if you just don't ignore it, does it get in the way of what we want to do? Well, we'll just ignore it. And this is, and the thing is, they were forewarned.
That's right.
But this is a pervasive thing. And on today, the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Martin Luther King, we talked about his statement about if you don't agree, if you think a law is unjust and you want to disobey it, by all means do so, but be prepared to serve the penalty.
That's right.
And that's it. Be prepared to go to jail, as Mandela did for 20-some years. So guess what? But that's not what happens. Just last night on the news, I saw the guy from, was it Block Island? The immigrant.
Yep.
They're going to deport, and everybody, they adopted him like a stray puppy.
Right.
Oh, yes, he's such a wonderful guy. We got to fight this. We can't deport him. Then a guy goes on television and said, I knew I was violating the law. My visa went up. I'm sending money home to my parents, and I just said, the hell with it. I'll take a chance. So he took a chance that he was going to get caught.
And he got caught.
Now he gets caught, and they don't want to pay the penalty. And he said it. He said it. He willfully disobeyed the law. He knew when his visa went up, he didn't do what he had to do to get an extension. And he said it. And it's incredible how they don't take any responsibility for anything they do. Anything. It's always an excuse. And the same thing with all, you know, they came here, they're illegal. They're not undocumented, they're illegal. You know, you can put lipstick on a pig and call it a turkey, but it's still a pig. The fact is, if you disobey the law, you've disobeyed the law.
Right.
And the reality is this guy, and here's a classic example. And all the people on Block Island, oh, God, he's a great employee, he's a great, yeah, but look, the guy said, look, it's like, you know, so is that going to be a new defense for a serial killer? Well, I got away with it for 30 years. I took a shot, you know, literally and figuratively. And so you know, anybody want to adopt me? I don't think so. But it's just, you know, you wonder why, you know, the society itself is just crumbling around us. And it's because nobody, in the sake of political correctness, can ever have any consequences for any action they take, regardless of whether it's totally understood. It's like premeditation. He violated that law with his own premeditation. He said it on television. I fully knew that I was in violation of the law, and I took a shot. Just like the city council. They took a shot. They thought CJ and Patrick weren't going to be watching, but they were wrong.
We always have fun. Hey, Mark Dion's column actually is kind of threefold because his title is From Methadone to Marijuana, Why Not Make It Here? There's another slam on the mayor's rebranding campaign. But he's right. Carol Fiola just instituted, she's calling for a review of methadone clinics, how many there are, because Fall River has several, by the way. And Star wants to create more of them. And then you've got marijuana now is reaching up that they started taking applications on Monday for recreational marijuana. 248 applications have already been filed. 43 of them are already complete. Okay, so we got methadone and marijuana running rampant. And you wonder why Fall River is the drug haven, drug capital of the world. This is what happens.
Well, you know, and he made a very good point. He talked about, you know, he talks about how, you know, he's a, you know, they're looking at him and calling him.
The same thing they call us.
Yeah, well, you know, they're kind of saying that he's being a big. How did he put? He says, where? Okay, I'm looking for it.
Well, I'm a small.
Oh yeah. It makes me, you know, and it said, the lack of vision is why I say crude, ignorant things like, why can't they build a methadone clinic somewhere else, maybe in the suburbs, which was actually a campaign platform of the other candidate for mayor, about trying to share this throughout the state rather than make the worst places in the city the dumping grounds. It's like Escape to New York. So now they escape to Fall River. All the junkies come here, and then when they're booted out of the program or they finish the program, they can't go back to where they're from, and half of them stay here. But then it says,
which increases our unemployment rate.
Yeah, and it said, you know, you're just concerned, but you know this makes me a heartless bigot. That's odd, because if you live in one of the suburbs, you say, quote, I don't want a methadone clinic in my town, unquote. You're just concerned about your property values or your kids' safety, or maybe you just want to preserve the small-time feel of your grossly overbuilt little town. Well, that's the problem. The problem is that, you know, we saw in HBO, I believe it was, documentary on opioid addiction at Cape Cod.
Heroin on Cape Cod, yeah.
Yeah, and where do they get rid of them all to? Fall River.
Yeah, Fall River. Send them there.
Fall River, and we want to build more. Why? Because the people who run the clinic are making mega
Buku
money.
bucks.
Boku money.
Because let me tell you something.
Money.
Subutex, methadone, and Suboxone generate lots of money. Suboxone generates so much money that doctors are limited to 100 patients only. They can only have 100 patients for Suboxone. Imagine that.
Yeah.
So they must be making some pretty big money.
So, you know, we've got, you know, that's another thing we could probably get in our when we're trying to get tourism, you know. You know, we've got more methadone clinics per square foot than any other place in Massachusetts. That could be one of the highlights. If you're looking for methadone clinics rather than yacht races, come to Fall River. Don't go to Newport. Come to Fall River.
But guess what? The Cannabis Control Commission picked Worcester to locate. They should have located in Fall River, but they went to Worcester.
No, they're going to sell it here. They're going to run it up there.
Exactly.
That's the way it works. They're all the people with the money that are getting paid the big bucks to be on the Cannabis Commission. It's like the board of directors at Charlton. Almost none of them live here. I don't think any of them live here. And they're all making 6, and some of them, I think, are making nearly 7 figures.
Well, you know, here's the interesting thing about this, Matt. And tell me this doesn't scream of keeping your friends employed. The Cannabis Control Commission put the RFP out to get Worcester office space, but they put in an RFP out for 5,000 square foot of office space in Boston to keep people in Metro Boston working.
Of course. Of course. And, you know...
Tell me that's not political hackery.
No. Heaven forbid that you actually, you know, you don't take care of them, because that's the way it goes. You know, there's no longer, you know, we no longer have a representative form of government.
No, exactly.
But whose fault is it? As we always say, we say 2 things, and it's proven with all this baloney that we're looking at here. And the Cannabis Commission is another commission. Again, coming
political
soon.
hackery.
Political hackery, you know, just like the best one, looking for Napoleon's invasion fleet. And that one in England, and that wasn't eliminated till the 1950s. I think there was no real threat. I think that was a no-show job.
Exactly.
Because, you know, watching for a standing on the White Cliffs.
Interestingly enough, the 3 medical marijuana businesses that are currently in Fall River licensed that are opening up are going to seek recreational permits. Is that a surprise?
No. And
that will generate a 4% tax for the local. So that's revenue for Fall River. Don't get me wrong. It is a revenue for Fall River, but it's a 4% tax plus the fees that the mayor says we're going to get over the top.
What is its, you know, what is its impact on the people? Because number one, you've got people.
They're already driving around smoking in the car. Because I don't know how many times I've been on Plymouth Avenue and somebody's on the side of me.
You've got a community with people that are you know, not. They're kind of disgruntled now. They're having issues. They can't get a job. But so Fall River's going to become the cannabis capital of the world. So
yeah, well,
there we go. So
close to it.
Well, at least a cannabis capital of
Massachusetts.
And believe me, that's one designation we really don't want to have.
Well, the state environmental secretary finally signed off on the South Coast Rail's first phase. Yeah. So it looks like it may actually be happening.
Yeah, don't hold
So it's going to go through Middleborough, even though people in Middleborough don't want it to. It's going to go through Middleborough instead of going through Stoughton. So maybe they'll be on time. Maybe we'll actually see it before we're dead.
I'll tell you what, I'll bet anybody.
Now it's going to start in late 2022.
Yeah, there you go. I'll bet anybody a coffee it's not happening in 2022. There's no way. You won't see this thing in probably your lifetime. Definitely not in my lifetime.
That's what I was actually told at one time by Teresa Murray. And finally, Diamond is having an opioid event on Saturday morning. No, they're not going to be selling it.
Not yet, anyway.
Corey's Cause Foundation will be on hand to educate families on opioid addiction in athletes. So if you're interested in going, it's going to be at Diamond on Saturday morning.
And who is it sponsored by?
What was that?
Saturday's event at Diamond, sponsored by Star.
Yep.
Wow, what a surprise.
Isn't it just a surprise? Hey, and if you want to get your Target products delivered now, they deliver to Fall River. So go look at that one. Try that on for size. Your delivery from Target in Fall River. It's got to be a great idea. Can't do any better than that.
Well, stay angry.
And we'll see you on Friday. Have a great day.